All right, we're going to quickly move into our next panel discussion on the topic Tech on My Plate, AgriTech, FoodTech, and Future Foods. From farm to fork, technology is transforming what we grow, how we cook, and what we eat. This panel unpacks the intersection of AgriTech, FoodTech, and Future Foods, exploring how innovation is addressing supply chain challenges, enhancing nutrition, and unlocking the next wave of scalable, sustainable food solutions for India and the world. I'd like to introduce our panel. Please give them a big round of applause as they come forward. We have with us this evening Eshwar K. Vikas, founder of Beyond Appliances and Mukunda Foods Private Limited. Please give him a big round of applause. ShashidharSubramanya, Head of Corporate Technology, South Asia, Bühler Group. Vivek Vashishta, Vice President of Learning and Development and Sustainability, the Indian Hotels Company Limited, Rapido. Subhradeep Bhowmik, Founder and Director, Auntie Fungs. And of course, moderating this panel discussion is PV Nirmal, partner at Mannheim Craft Brewery and Krumbkraft, Sourdough, Bakehouse. Over to you, PV Nirmal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know it's not easy to sit through sessions after a good lunch, so we'll try and keep it as interesting as possible. So welcome to our panel on Tech on My Plate, AgriTech, FoodTech, and Future Foods. Now, it's a very vast subject that we are trying to cover in a very short period of time. And I hope we are able to touch upon some of the important ones in the next 40-45 minutes as possible. Now, today, food isn't just about what is tasty. It's about what's techy. We are not just talking about what's on our plate, but we're trying to see how did it get there, who is responsible for it, and what it might look for in the future. But with innovation comes complexities, right? I mean, how do you ensure that AgriTech truly empowers farmers? Or will consumers trust a burger which has been grown in a lab or made by a robot? Can FoodTech really help us tackle the challenges of operations, restaurant operations, right? That's what we are here to explore today. Our panel today brings together a mix of innovators, disruptors, and deep thinkers from across the food system. I don't think I'm going to introduce each one of you. So we'll start straight away. We'll start with Eshwar. To begin with, now, how did you think about starting this whole thing? I mean, Mukunda Foods and now, getting into the consumer side of products. What drove you to, start putting a robo in the kitchen? Did your mom say, I'm not going to cook for you anymore? Or, what was behind this?
Yeah. So hi all, I'm Eshwar. It's a long story. We have 25,000 restaurants that we automated, but it all started by me opening my first outlet where I said, look, everybody's selling pizzas and burgers in a McD kind of a format. Why don't we sell idlis and dosas and build the next McDonald's of India? And that's how the journey of Mukunda Food started. We opened one outlet, started selling dosas, idlis, and the business was good. I thought, hey, this is good. Now all you need to do is open 5,000 outlets, make a lot of money, and maybe buy a Ferrari car. That's how I started. But things started hitting the roof when I opened my second outlet, because getting consistency and quality of dosas was very difficult. People would come and say, yaar, first outlet and second outlet, there's a huge taste difference. वो मजा नहीं आ रहा है. Morning dosa was good, evening it is not good. And my customer NPS went for a toss. And I was like, shit, it's not happening. I might not now buy my Ferrari. That's when I said, okay, I'm an engineer. Let me do something about it. I rolled up my sleeves and built a machine called Dosa-matic. It's an automatic dosa making machine. You press a button, the machine makes dosa. It sounds simple, but I took 2 years to build the machine. Once we made the machine, we put it in the restaurants, we put it in my own outlets. That's when a lot of restaurant owners started reaching out. They said, hey, this is very good. Can you sell this machine? I also need this because my dosa master doesn't come on time. He has his own quacks. So we said, okay, this is interesting. Let me sell the dosa machine. So we started selling dosa matics. That's when other friends and from the ecosystem started reaching out. Sagar from Wow Momos said, hey, can you make something for momos? Haldiram said, can you do something for samosas? Chayo said, can you do something for chai? Then we did something for biryanis, burgers. So yeah, so today we automated biryanis, burgers, sandwiches, dhoklas, idlis. So it's sort of right from some of the largest brands to the standalone outlets use our machine. So that was the journey. And because we hit like 25,000 restaurants that we automated, including the global guys like the Burger King, KFC, Taco Bell, Wendy's, sort of now ship it abroad as well. Then we said, let's do something for home use. So that's when we started Beyond Appliances very recently, where we said, how can we take the technology that we built to make biryani, but do it at home? So we did not make a biryani machine at home, but making your existing stoves and chimneys and home appliances, kitchen appliances smarter. That's what we do.
So what's one traditional kitchen task that you think would be completely taken over by automation?
So I'll take one step back. When we did automation, right, we didn't say, let's remove the chef from the kitchen. We didn't do that. We said, what can we do that we empower the chef, we empower the people working in the kitchen to cook better? How can we ensure that they don't fuck up or do a bad thing? Because it's very difficult, right? It's working in a kitchen is a very difficult task. It's hot, it's very demanding. Every customer has a unique requirement and you need to deliver the same consistency and quality. So we said, how can we help this person who is sweating out in the kitchen to do better? That's how we started doing. But one task which we feel is getting automated at scale, and that's where I think which I didn't think it will happen, because everybody wants to eat salads and healthy food, but what sells out the most is the fried food. All the samosas and fried chicken and the French fries. So I think the whole frying automation that we have built at Mukunda Foods, right, that's doing very good. I'll give you a small story. When Haldirams came to us and said, yes, samosa automate karna, making samosa, frying samosa is very difficult because it's an art. And those of you who have fried a samosa, or if you know halwai, they will tell you need to start at 130 degrees. And every 1 minute increase the temperature by about 10-15 degrees. And once it reaches 175 degrees, you take it out. And that's an art. Only the guy who is sitting there, he doesn't have a thermometer, but he does this, increases, mixes and all that stuff. And getting that people were very, very difficult. So what we did in our automatic fryers, we didn't say, okay, I will do 1,000 things. We said, okay, we'll run a small program where depending on the number of samosas you have done, it will increase the temperature and follow temperature curve, if I may, depending on a few factors to give your golden crisp kadak wala samosa and well cooked from the inside. So what we started with samosa, we then adapted to a whole bunch of other fried food, including your French fries, your fried chicken, and even baturas and puris. And also I feel fried food is how much ever we hate, we don't want fried food, but in any party, puris and gobi manchuris are the first one that goes out. So I think fried food is a big thing. Of course, dosas, biryanis are there, but we feel frying is a very, very large opportunity that we are up to.
So you are adapting and innovating as per what the requirements of your customers are.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, now moving on to Shashi. Let's try and understand the topic a bit more. What's the key difference between FoodTech and AgriTech? What's the major shift that you have really seen in the industry in the last 5-10 years?
Okay. I've been with Bühler for about 10 years now, and I've been watching this space, AgTech, FoodTech, for quite a while now. I think this kind of binary differentiation held good about 10 years back when the ecosystem was not very mature. Now I think the time is apt to add 2 more categories in between. Yeah. What we broadly call AgTech today is farm and a bit of post-harvest. Yeah. And what we call FoodTech today is very, very far down in the value chain. It's almost there, very close to the consumers. But the thing that's being produced on the farm doesn't magically reach the restaurants, right? It has to go through many, many steps in the value chain. It has to get aggregated quite a few times, and then it has to go into processing facilities. India has about 40,000 rice mills, yeah, and about 20,000, 25,000 atta mills, about 5,000 decent scaled flour mills, about 10,000 pulses mills. So I think there is not enough focus on this sector, and there's very little attention from the investor community also on this, because it's mostly the family run businesses that's doing this. So I think rather than this binary differentiation of agtech and food tech, if we rather consider this as pre-harvest, post-harvest, I can't think of a name for the processed food at a scale, and then food tech, I think it's much more beneficial. I think the whole ecosystem is now mature enough for us to get into this kind of classification. That's my submission.
Interesting. Now, Subhradeep, you are the only restaurateur, I would say, in this panel. And how do you use tech, if at all, in creating and delivering a more consistent food experience? What are the different areas or verticals in a restaurant operation that you think tech can help?
Okay, thank you. So I think technology is disrupting every consumer business that we see, whether it's a FMCG, healthcare, everything, and F&B or food service for that matter. I think I'm the food service representative in the panel here. So restaurant, cloud kitchens, food service also is getting disrupted world over. And India, some of the bigger brands like Rebel Foods is a classic example. I think they've really automated the back end to a large extent. So for us, but yes, it's also important to know that it's very fancy to talk about, and it's very easy to get enamored by, oh, I'm using automation. But finally, I think Nikhil from Pizza Bakery made a statement that if the food is bad, you will not come back. So a cool app, a sexy website, and those things, okay, these are nice English words, but finally food has to be the hero. And whatever you're doing on technology needs to be an enabler to the finally what's getting served on the plate.
So your recipe and the chef.
Yes. So I'll come to the chef part of it. So I think keeping that as a hygiene thing on the back end, at the back of your mind, that technology needs to enable on everything. Now, if you look at the how a restaurant org structure or the different verticals, the biggest pain point always is the back end and the supply chain part of it. Like that's something to always remember, that, and especially if your vision is to scale. If I'm a one outlet, two outlet phenomena and the owner is literally sitting on the gaddi and trying to track everything, ki kya chal raha hai, whether it's the samosa or the puri, then it's a different game. But if your vision is to be a scalable brand, technology is of paramount importance. And for that, so I think on the supply chain front which is the things around, so supply chain is point one. Second is on the CX, the customer experience part of it. So these are two verticals, and basis the stage of the organization, you put your importance. For us, when we started till the time it was a 2 outlet, 3 outlet, I think it was still manual. But as we decided to scale, post raising some initial level of angel money, the biggest investment on the tech side happened on the supply chain part. So especially when you have a central kitchen model, the entire hub and spoke kicks in. So your production plan, how much of starting from what is the Szechuan sauce that you will make to how much of rice you should boil. So I'm just giving the basic ABCDs. So everything needs to be tech enabled. Then comes, so it was production planning, it was demand forecasting. How does weekday, weekend behave? So all those things on the supply chain front. Then comes even what are some of the other pain points. I'll try and give what we are using and what we have seen technology solving the problems. When we analyzed our complaints, this about a year back, our biggest part of the complaint bucket was, especially in deliveries, was about a wrong item or missing items. Now, finally, who are the guys in that pickup counter when there is busy time? These are not robots, and this is not a Six Sigma process. Right. So there will be defects. And those are guys who are not highly educated and all. So how can technology bring in? So we got, in fact, it was through Eshwar's Connect. So we got one tech guys to come up with a IoT-enabled sticker printer. So item level, those stickers started coming in. My complaints on wrong and missing item came down by 90% once we implemented it over all the kitchens. So so there will be problems which is unique to each business. So that's one thing which we have done. Then even another thing is also your finance and accounting backend. How can automation help that? Can you there are a lot of off-the-shelf software products, or you can custom make it around that at the click of a mouse, can I get my food cost? At the click of a mouse, can I reconcile my Swiggy, Zomato receivables at the end of the week? A major pain point for all the restaurant owners across the country. Trust me, whether it's a Domino's or the local Thela guy, this is a black box for the entire industry. So can you automate that? So those are some of the things which we have done, and we are definitely seeing the results. And it is evolving. There are quite a few things. We're trying to work on a few AI cameras to understand profile of the footfall, the behavior once they enter, which tables they're sitting, why is that table getting filled first and why not that. Initially, at the time of store opening, I thought, ye sabse pehle full hoga, but the customer is going that side.
These are data that you are
Those are things which is taking it to the next level.
How do you use it? That's where the main challenge lies.
That's where the main challenge, and so you'll have to go one step at a time. But first, get the basics right around the back end. Right. Build a process that the data comes. That's the thing.
Yeah, what do you do with that? That's the main thing.
Yes.
Right. Anyway, Vivek, coming to you. Rapido has been one of the front runners in the last mile delivery technology. Give us some insights into what you all are investing in technology and innovation in the food industry side.
Cool. So I'll set some context here. First off, thank you. I'll set some context here. So until now, Rapido has been a player primarily in a last mile delivery, right? We've been an enabler for last mile delivery. Of course, over the last few months, we've also been trying to explore food a little more. So, hopefully our flirtation turns into a more full-time affair. So this is why we've kind of spent so much time around food. And what I'll do is, instead of talking about the technologies themselves, let me kind of talk about the evolution.
Okay.
Right. So for, I think, the last 10 or 15 years, this last part of food you talked about, the part closest to the customer, the last 10 or 15 years was all about this part being set up, right? It was all about the customers finding this new mechanism to order food. It was all about restaurants getting used to it. And I think it was built on the back of, very simply, the mobile phone as a technology. And of course, built on the backs of what we call the gig economy. And a lot of what all of us did as enablers was a lot of process enablement. It was a lot of process enablement to get, a hyperlocal process right. And now I think what's going to happen in the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years, because food now is mature, right? Online food is mature. I think there's two things that are primarily going to happen. The first is that with maturity comes the acknowledgement of underlying problems. So a lot of what happened over the last 10 years was brute force because it was the beginning. But of course, every player in this segment has preferences. We talk about customer preferences, but restaurants have preferences as well. Our delivery partners have preferences as well. And I think the first thing that's going to happen is an acknowledgement of those preferences and how tech can solve those specific preferences rather than simply say, hey, we've created food delivery, right? So I think that's number one. Secondly, I think I'd like to talk about democratization. So online food as a phenomenon, I'd say is still a top 2% India phenomenon, right? If you primarily look at it, it isn't really mass. And for us, I think we've always tried to figure out how to make that mass. And not just us, I think the entire industry is going to head in that direction where we talk about democratizing this entire aspect. We talk about, look, I'd like to remember that perhaps 8 or 10 years ago, when companies did start this entire aspect of online food together with all our partners, we did so on the premise that online food delivery, because of its asset-light nature, has the best chance of making food as an industry more accessible.
Right.
And I think somewhere along the way that's been lost. So our hope and our endeavor is that whatever technology we create hopefully goes towards bringing that back.
And what's the time frame for this?
Oh man, no, I think. Look, it's difficult to put time frames. I think at least in the next 2 or 3 years, what we will have is more clarity and acknowledgement of the problem statement, right? And I think that by itself is important. I think once problem statements are acknowledged, the entire industry and the entire ecosystem gets together to solve those problems. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Eshwar, I think you touched upon how you support small and medium F&B outlets, to solve their problems per se. Has it been difficult to convince anybody? Do you go out and sell, when you go out and sell products, particularly now that you've got into the consumer market? How difficult is it?
See, I think I'll give you an example. We, in 2018, a large brand came to us and said, can you automate making biryani for us? This was a brand who had more than 200 outlets, and we said, yes, we can. And we made a machine that can touch of a button, do a lot of things automatically. It automatically would wash the rice, it would add all the spices, do the layering, do the dum process. It had camera, it had a whole lot of bells and whistles to do this, and the biryani actually came out well. We did A/B testing. If I give you 2 biryanis, can you know which is machine made, which is man made? And we passed it 10 of the 10 times. And we said, hey, we have invented the next sliced bread, and now we can sell the machine. But guess what? The machines didn't sell much, right? That's when we realized, look, it's not important to automate the entire process of making biryanis. And then one chef came to us and said, look, the most difficult thing in making biryani is the rice. And that's the most important thing. If you get the rice right, your biryani is 90% there. Okay. Can you take care of just that bit? And then that might be a success. And then we said, okay, we'll do that. We just created a machine which washes rice 2 times. It soaks the rice for X amount of time and does the right cooking that is required for doing the dum process, right? And this was much cheaper machine. It was like a 50,000 machine. The other one was like a 3-4 lakh machine, and which had all the bells and whistles. And within a month, we were doing 1 crore of sales for this one smaller biryani, or I would say the rice machine. And the biggest answer here was, don't put technology just because you can make it. Right. Just because you can use the buzzwords of camera, automation, robotic arms, and today AI, right? AI. Just because you can put AI, don't call it AI water, right? Just make things that the consumer actually needs. And then we changed our approach. We said, let's not look technology first. Let's look at outlet first. Then we started visiting whichever next machine we did. We said, let's look at customer first. And that's sort of the philosophy we took in the consumer business as well. And I'll share you a small incident. We said, okay, what can we do in consumer homes? And we said, let's not make the machine. Let's make the existing stove. Everybody has a stove at home where we cook food. The chula, the gas, the hob. How can we make it better and smarter? So we said, okay, let's see what we can do about it. So in interest of time, I'll quickly tell you what we did. We gave something as a whistle counter. So today in your stove, if you can set 3 whistles, 4 whistles, the stove will listen for it and automatically the flame will turn off. So you're cooking rajma, dal or khichdi or pongal. Today in any house, even in my house, my wife comes and says, I told you after 3 whistles, you turn it off. And I was like, Arey, ho gaya kya? And I was like, then go and turn off. And half of the time, it's, and milk overboil pe ladai ladi jati hai. I think World War III will be because you missed turning the stove off. And this is a very India problem, right? I don't think so any country uses whistle pressure cooker, right? And we said, how can we solve for that? And today we made a stove under the brand Beyond Appliances. November we launched it. Today we are the bestseller ranking 1 on Amazon. You go and write stove, 4-burner stove, 3-burner stove, we did well. So the idea is initially people, when I said we are doing home kitchen automation, they said, oh, is vegetables going to come and fall? Is there an arm that's going to do? We said, no, there's a stove. Your existing dumb stove will become smarter. So you don't have to stand in the kitchen for 5 minutes to turn off the milk. You put your milk, you go and get your daughter ready to school, or you go and watch a Netflix, and you can do it, right? I think that's where I think technology, not only for SMEs, but even for consumer, right, can play a role. Don't lead technology first. It's a very consumer first approach. And then I think technology will come, right? That's what I feel.
Thank you. So Shashi, anything that you can add to that?
I'll stretch this example of the rice cooking, because we make these rice mills that ultimately supply your customers the rice as well. So I'll focus a bit on the quality requirements. That's very important for making sure that his biryani is very consistent. If the rice is not being milled right, let's say there's a streak of bran on the rice, and let's say 20% of the rice kernels has it, then those 20% would curl and the rest would remain straight, and the biryani would not look pleasing.
Right.
And there's a problem. Let's say you haven't polished the rice well enough. There's a lot of loose starch on the surface of the rice, and when you want to cook it, your machine is always set at the right settings, assuming the chef knows what he wants for that particular variety of rice. Now, if it's not polished rice, then all the starch leaches out, and then all your rice will become very mushy, and you'll end up with a pongal instead of a biryani. So Bühler doesn't make the technologies for the FMB people, but our customers would be selling it to the people who would be using it thereof. So that's where the connection is. Now you begin to realize the importance of the primary product, the staple, the process staple, in ensuring that your roti, in ensuring that your biryani or your dokla is right. For one, you'll have to damage the starch. For the other one, you'll not have to damage the protein structures. So this is a very, very hard balance to get, and at a scale of 1 tons, 2 tons, 10 tons per hour. And that's really the precision that's required in a food factory.
Bühler has been in the AgriTech field for a very long time. What's one breakthrough in food technology or food processing that really excites you now?
Right now, I would say bioprocessed food, honestly, because the kind of challenges we are facing with respect to the environment or the availability of food, these are huge challenges. The planet will hit a population of 10 billion people shortly, and when that happens, we'll be short of proteins by about 250 million tons. So where is this additional protein coming from? There is no more arable land that we can add. Yeah, and this is a mobile population which is earning more and more. So they would move from starch-based diets to more and more richer sources, more proteins. So this has to come from somewhere. And solely depending on the farms for all these sources of nutrition is a very difficult task. Right now, even with the 8 billion population, we are looking at a nutrition crisis. About 3 billion people are short of nutritious food today.
Wow.
On the planet. So these sources have to come from somewhere. And you look at the map on the other side, 4 billion tons of staples are grown, and out of that 1 billion tons is the side streams, which is the byproducts. Your broken rice, your bran, and then the rejected material from a food factory. So these things have the potential to be upscaled. You can valorize these side streams and then make them fit for human consumptions. The right processing technology has to come in. I think this is where biotechnology, bioprocessing can play a role, and I am really excited about this.
So this is something like your cellular agriculture, which they say that it has a potential to produce cultured meat in or seafood by growing animal cells in scalable model, but not necessarily the whole animal.
Exactly.
So this is something that you're saying is something.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good. think we don't have too much time. We were expecting that we'll be able to cover a lot more. What's the biggest myth about tech in food, which you think people would understand?
Biggest myth, 10-minute delivery, maybe?
That's a side goal.
No, I don't know whether...
I should put the same question to him and say, what Chinese food would be the answer?
No, but I think, see, I'll just go back to what I said at the beginning also, that technology is a huge enabler, but let's not get carried away in that, because there is if you use the word, as Eshwar said, AI water tech. No. So I think as long as you're using it with the right intent, don't get enamored into the flowery part of it. You're solving a problem. I think there is a role in the entire value chain. That's what I would say.
Okay. A future food that you've actually tried, tasted, and liked. All of you can answer.
Okay, I tried, I'm a vegetarian, I don't eat egg as well, but I tried, this was in NRA, Chicago, US. They said this is an egg which is vegan, and it just tasted like, because in the past I tasted egg, so I knew how it tasted. Like cheating, but yeah, it was like poached egg and all that stuff, so it was like real. So I'm really looking forward for Bühler to building a poached egg.
I think this mock meat as a category. I think there are a lot of brands which are already there. I tried, there's a brand called Shakahari, and there are quite a few in Bangalore.
Protein and mock meat?
Yes, yes, the protein thing. So, and they're quite good.
Catching up quite well. And in the last 2 weeks, I've had at least 2 or 3 different brands who have come and spoken to us about this.
Yes, so quite a few brands we have also tried. It's just that, in a delivery first thing, and some of them are so close to an actual red meat.
Yeah.
It will end up boomerang on us. You give a Asian thing, but with a mock meat, but they will think by mistake a non-veg food has gone. Then that's the issue which the delivery brands will face. And that's one of the reasons why we said, okay, maybe it's not yet ready from a delivery standpoint, but in veg dishes, even say you're ordering a veg bowl of ramen or a veg bowl of Thai curry. Other than the veggies, you lack a body. So a mock meat is a nice replacement. But in deliveries, it's tricky. People will think that by mistake a non-veg food is gone.
Yeah.
But it's catching up, and when we did the trials, they're very good.
We tried that in some of our restaurants too, and people are actually asking for it now. So interesting to see that. So I'll go one by one. What do you imagine our plates will look like in 2035, 10 years from now? What will be the most radical change in how we eat? What do you think?
Okay, so now my answer might be a mix of wish and a vision of the future. I wish that our plates would become more diverse. Today, the big 4 staples are really controlling the entire food value chain: rice, soy, maize, and wheat. I wish that this becomes more diverse. We have a lot more of pulses and millets and all these ancient grains on our plates. That's a wish, and I also wish for a future where a third of the food that we produce is not wasted in the value chain. We have to figure out ways for both the side stream and also the wasted food to make a way back to our plates. Well, I'm not competent enough to comment on the particular dishes and the dietary preferences. I've got no competence there. But if you take a value chain, the whole food systems perspective, I think there is no other alternative as well, because this is a problem we have to solve for. Otherwise, we'll be starving.
Okay, so what I hope it will be is, it will not be a place where just ruled by robots. I think people are very good with people. I don't want to walk into a restaurant and I hate ordering from that QR thing. I'm sure all of us have seen that. I hope in Mannheim I get a great
No,
guy
no ordering
smiling.
for the app.
So I think people love to talk with people and are good with people. So I think that is something I really hope continues. Go to a restaurant and have a chat and speak to a person and place an order with a real person. And that's what I think people will continue to do. And what should change is, I think, the grudge work might have to go, but the creative thinking of a chef on what's the best kimchi to do or what's the best Thai gravy to do. My favorite is Auntie Fung's though, but yeah, I hope that's available more because of our technology talking to more places.
He doesn't get any extra discount.
Yeah, what I think is already happening and will be accelerated is structures breaking down. So I don't think we're going to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think it's going to be a very interesting plate, and people will eat it at any point in the day. What I wish will happen, especially for those of us outside this room, is a lot of the dishes that we've talked about, a lot of the nutrients and proteins that are required, a lot of the food that we have the privilege to eat. I'm hoping that people outside this room do as well.
I think if you look at it, the way the entire restaurant or F&B also has evolved. So one major change, we are upping the game. So what was a gourmet once in a month thing, people are literally can order at the click of a mouse. So, and like Eshwar also mentioned that frying is one thing probably will get completely replaced. So a lot of the obvious things which we are getting on our plate on a daily basis at home may get completely replaced with a lot of the gourmet things today. So for brands also, I think you'll have to up the game. Maybe you go to a restaurant for a sushi. 10 years later, maybe sushi is available in a frozen format at home. So the underlying point I'm trying to make is upping the game for because consumers are evolving. So brands will have to up that. And I wish, obviously, as a founder of a food brand, if you compare India with some of the other Asian countries like Korea, there's hardly any kitchen at home. They have a mini pantry. So you should cook less at home, use Eshwar's hob only for boiling milk. Otherwise, you order in. That's my wish.
I mean, I think we should really ask you, Eshwar, what is your kitchen like at home? Do you have machines, robots running around?
No. So I have a stove, I have chimney. Every month I change because before we launch a product, we test everything in my
that's
home.
like the trial phase.
My daughter was like, it's been a month, there is no new stove. I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. But on the technology part, I have one more wish. I hope whenever I book a Rapido, I get one. It's under huge demand these days.
I think we have run out of time. So we'll open up for questions from the audience. None? Yep.
Thank you. Hi, this is Prashant from Santrupti Agro Products. One question which basically is for the gentleman who is doing the automation in the kitchen and for Rapido. A lot of times when we order food, right, and we supply food to our customers, the kind of technology which we have at hand today is not actually benefiting the customer because we don't get the food the way it was prepared. It could be the containers it is in, could be the silver foil it is in, could be the bag in which the partner takes it. When do you see a more realistic, counter to home kind of a scenario coming up?
Okay. So I don't think so there's a alternate to ghar ka khana. I think home food is home food because we believe it's not just cooked normally, but it's cooked with love. So I think it's very difficult to replace. But I think some technology, I'll give you an example, like French fries get soggy when they get delivered. So again, one of the wonderful chefs we said, if we double fry a French fry, it's not that you fully fry it and then remove it and fry it, but I'll give you the math. So it's 3 minutes 20 seconds that takes it to fry, but if you take it out at 2 minutes 10 seconds, hold it for 20 seconds and then do a second dip, then the fries that come out can stay crisper for a long time but absorb the same amount of oil, because what you have done is necessarily cut the cooking of the whole fry, and when you do a second dip, you're only doing the outside layer, so inside is still mushy but outside is crisp. So that's the reason fries get traveled very well. So we experimented with this wonderful brand called Good Flippin' Burgers, and it worked, and through a software update, all our fryers which were at their outlet had this update, and everybody had crunchy delivered French fries. Similarly, I think we did something with dosas, we did something with various food. So yes, it's not the same experience of sitting in and getting your food served hot and fresh and having that. But customer also knows it's a compromised experience. And hence, if you are able to get little better than rest of everybody, I think you have done a good job at it.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I think first off, food served at a restaurant, food at home, and food served from a restaurant online are three very different experiences. In terms of the problem here, I'd like to point out that first off, of course, the fries is a great endeavor. But once those fries leave the restaurant, they are going with a person, and that person has a life, that person has problems, and it's very difficult for that person, right? They aren't automatons, and we don't wish for them to do. I think this is a sector that provides employment. And I think that's, so therefore we have to kind of, let's say, keep our expectations slightly lower, unfortunately. How that has been solved is primarily a function of density. So if you look at more mature food markets, what basically happens is that restaurants and manufacturers come closer to the consumer. People talk about things like drone delivery coming in, waves of the future. I honestly don't know. I think it's a mishmash of regulation, of a lot of other stuff happening there. But as long as we continue providing employment, and we should, this problem will only be solved by density, by nothing else.
Any other questions? Good. I think we have run out of time. We have just been able to, you have? Okay.
Yeah, thank you, all of you. It was a good insight. Talking about technology, see, I'm in this space for almost 8-9 years. So I started my journey as offering nutritious food for the tech population here, because there's a lot of migrants, right? From the rural to the urban, there is a nutrition gap, as he rightly mentioned. So that is how, but when we were operating in, say, multiple locations, multiple cities, we had this wastage issue. Our dump used to be 30-40%, and so we really have to work. So COVID, of course, gave a break. So I sat back and we pulled out of all the locations because this work from home emerged, and obviously we have to shut down all our counters. So the pain point is, can we actually offer nutritious food by retaining the nutrition, right? That's the whole. Can we actually scale it? So that was the whole pain point. We started working. So we, of course, found a solution for that. So we were the first company. Now I'm a patent holder for that. And for the Indian food, Indian cuisine, we extend shelf life, which actually takes care of the texture, the flavor, the taste, right? And including the micronutrients. Everything is retained, right? So why this was done? Because to save wastage, right? There should not be a wastage, because we were talking about there's going to be a huge food shortage. That is something which we also understood. But after cracking this, right, when we go offer this solution to the industry, not many are really coming forward or not ready to adapt this, or they don't trust that something like this can happen, right? Before even trying, they just write off, right? So the same whatever I attempted in India in the year 2022, 23, okay, we tried using expanding to US, right? So there we see better adoption. We send food from here and we are expanding better in US, right? So I just want to understand, in this food tech space, why is that hesitation? And because, the chefs primarily, they have a lot of insecurity, because I have interacted with some of the chefs here, and same, like, if you're doing something on the tech space, on the food tech space, on the innovation space, there will be this hesitation, right? So how much is this industry ready for innovation is a big question, right? So I thought this panel will be more can give more insights on this question, right?
Anyone wants to take it? Move you from a restaurant side.
Yeah, from a tech adoption standpoint, I think like I have been, Auntie Fung has been one of the customer of Eshwar for some of the equipments, and we've seen that pushback. And it's a general human psyche that this machine will replace my job. That insecurity is too inherent. Maybe we are not able to relate the way that guy thinks. So, and there is a pushback, but I think it takes time. And these companies like Mukunda have always, I mean, they are at it. I think this just celebrated their 13th birthday a few days back. So they're doing this for the last 13 years, and they've seen the adoption curve also going up. But yes, that insecurity is there, and through constant coaching and mentoring, only it can go off, and that has to come top down. If the founder of the brand is believing in that, then it will slowly trickle down. I mean, democracy doesn't work in that.
I think it's not just the chefs, it's also the business owners. You know, many a times the business owners just look at the profitability. So if there is a change, there is a pushback from both.
I'll give you a simple trick on how you can do it. Don't give a fully cooked meal to a chef. You say 90%, you do the 10% magic. Jadoo aapke haath mein hai.
Yeah.
You do the entire curry, but don't add maybe salt and some spices. You say, chef, you know how to finalize it. So you give the entire thing so the chef can finish it, and you will see, hopefully your sales will go.
See, again, it's a workaround, right? So I'm talking about without this workaround, why we are still hesitant? This is a supply chain challenge, right? So when you can solve the supply chain challenge, when you are actually able to define your input cost, right, which is a huge saving for any operator. And, you look at your P&L, you can look at your P&L on a daily basis if you are able to control your input cost, right? So this much understanding, this lack of understanding is something which I'm really surprised.
You should maybe meet.
I think let's take this offline.
Yeah,
He's giving a scary look.
Thank you, guys. I think we have just been able to scratch the top of the topic that we have been given. This can actually go on for another, hours and hours if we have to get into more details on technology itself.